Hey everyone, sorry that my hair's a mess. I didn't brush it after I got up this morning. And yeah, my phone's facing this way instead of this way. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but my hand's more like this instead of like this, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, I don't know, like my phone just won't stay up. I don't know why, it just won't. It's stubborn. So, I'm going to do Read Out Loud, A Dog's Purpose, Part 14? Wait. 14 or 15? I don't know. I want to say 14. Maybe it's part 13. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I've been really tired. I keep on forgetting a lot of shit. And I just been a little stressed out lately. My eyes bugging me. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get going. Don't tell Grandpa about this, he said. When we got home, I started to see Flo standing in her usual place in her yard, regarding me with a slack expression. I barked at her through the car window until Grandpa told me to stop barking. The boy was only gone one night, but it was the first time since we'd been together, and I had slept with him, and I paced the hallway until Dad shouted, "Lie down, Bailey." I curled up in Ethan's bed and fell asleep with my head on the pillow where his scent was the strongest. When Mom brought Ethan home the next day, I was overjoyed, but the boy's mood was somber. Dad told me he was a bad boy. Grandpa talked to him in front of the gun cabin. Everyone was tense, and yet nobody so much as mentioned the name Flair, and it was Flair who was the cause of the whole thing. I realized that because no one else had been there, they didn't know what had really happened and were mad at the boy instead of the horse. I was angry enough to want to go outside and bite that horse, but I didn't, of course, because the thing was huge. The girl came over to see the boy, and the two of them sat on the porch and didn't talk much, just sort of mumbled and looked away from each other. "Were you scared?" the girl asked. "No," the boy said. "I would have been scared." "Well, I wasn't. Did you get cold at night?" she pressed. "Yeah, pretty much." "Oh, yeah." I already followed the exchange, sifting carefully for words such as Bailey or car ride and treats. Hearing none of them, I put my head down and sighed. The girl reached down and petted me, so I rolled on my back for a tummy rub. I decided to like the girl and wished she'd visit more often, and I bought more of those biscuits and gave me some. Then, before I was ready, Mom packed and we took the big, long car ride and meant school was coming. When we pulled in the driveway at home, several of the children were running over, and Marshmallow and we quainted on the lawn, slipping right into our outgoing wrestling match. There were other dogs in the neighborhood, but I liked Marshmallow the best, probably because I saw her nearly every day when the boy went to stay with Chelsea's mother. After school, often when I would head out through the open gate on the adventure, Marshmallow would be out too and would accompany me while we explored the issue of other people's trash cans. So I was along to hear Chelsea's learning out of her mother's car one day, calling, "Marshmallow, Marshie, here, Marshmallow." Chelsea came over to talk to Ethan, and before long all the kids in the neighborhood were calling Marshmallow's name. It was clear to me that Marshmallow had been a bad dog, and had gone off somewhere on her own adventure. Her scent was most recent in the area of the creek, but there were so many children and dogs they didn't have a good sense of what direction she'd taken. Chelsea was sad and cried, and I felt bad for her and put my head in her lap, and she hugged me. Todd was one of the children who was helping to look for Marshmallow, and curiously, her scent was on his pants. I sniffed him carefully, and he frowned and pushed my head away. His shoes were muddy, and Marshmallow's scent was stronger there, too, plus other things I couldn't identify. "Come on, Bailey," Ethan said when he saw Todd's reaction to my examination. Marshmallow never did come home. I remember my first mother running out the gate and into the world without a look back. Some dogs just want to be free to wander because they don't have a boy who loves them. Eventually, Marshmallow sent Faye from the wind, but I never seemed to stop sniffing for her. When I remember playing with Marshmallow, I found myself thinking of Coco. Back in the yard, I would have loved to see Coco again and Marshmallow, but I was beginning to understand that life was far more complicated than it had appeared to be in the yard, and that it was people who were in charge of it, not dogs. What mattered was what I wanted. Was not what I wanted. What mattered was what I was there in the woods when Ethan was cold and hungry, keeping him warm at nights, being his accomplishment. The winter around the time when Dad put a tree in the living room for Merry Christmas, Chelsea got a new puppy. They named her Duchess. She was recently playful to the point where I get annoyed at the sharp teeth digging into my ears, and that would give her a quick growl to make her stop. She'd blink at me instantly, and back off for just a few seconds before deciding I couldn't have meant it, and then she'd come right back at me. I was very irritated. In the spring, the word go-kart kept swept through the neighborhood and all up and down the street. The children were sawing and hammering on wood, totally ignoring their dogs. Dad would come out to the garage every evening and talk to the boy while he fussed over whatever he was doing. I even went too far as to go into the boy's closet and bring out the loathsome Flip. Think I would tantalize him with that, but the remained total focus on playing with the pieces of wood that he never once threw for me to chase and bring back. See my go-kart, Bailey? It's going to go fast. Finally, the boy opened the garage door, sat on the go-kart, and rode it like a sled down the short drive. I trotted beside him, thinking we'd both been through a lot of bother for such a pointless ending. But when the go-kart reached the bottom of the driveway, he picked it up and carried it back into the garage and played it with some more. At least with the Flip, you had something you could chew on. On a sunny day when there was no school, all of the kids in the neighborhood would take their go-karts to a long, steep street several blocks away. Duchess was too young to accompany the procession, but I went along with my boy, though I had no enthusiasm for his intentional idea that he could sit in the go-kart and I should pull him down the street by a leash. Todd and his older brother Drake were among the kids and laughed and said things about Chelsea's go-kart, and I could sense that her feelings were hurt. When they lined up the go-kart at the top of the hill, Todd was next to Ethan's. I was not at all prepared for what happened next. Someone yelled, "Go!" and then the go-karts were flying and rolling down the hill, gathered speed. Drake ran up behind Todd and gave him a go-kart a big push and leaped ahead. "Cheating!" Chelsea yelled. Her go-kart was moving very slowly, but Ethan was gaining speed, and soon I had to run to keep up. The other go-karts fell away, and after a little bit, it was just Ethan's go-kart steadying close in on Todd's. I ran with abandonment and exhaustion, freedom, galloping down the hill after my boy. At the bottom, a boy named Billy stood with a flag on the stick, and I sensed that he was somehow part of what was happening. Ethan was hunched over, his head low, and it was all so much fun I decided I wanted to be on the go-kart with him. I put on the extra burst of speed and leaped through the air, landing on the back of his go-kart and nearly topping off again. The force of my impact threw us forward so that we were now passing Todd. Billy waved his stick, and I could hear yelling and cheering behind us at the go-kart. Now on the flat part of the road, rolled to a stop. "Good dog, Bailey," the boy told me, chuckling. All the other go-karts rolled up behind us, followed by the rest of the children, who were all yelling and laughing. Billy came over and held Ethan's hand up in the air, dropping his stick with the flag on it. I picked up the stick and practiced around with it, daring someone to try to take it and have some real fun. Not fair, Todd shouted. The crowd of children grew quiet. Not a hot fury poured off Todd, who stood facing Ethan. The damn dog jumped on the cart. That's why you won. You're disqualified, Drake said, standing behind his brother. Well, you pushed your brother, Chelsea said. So I would have caught you anyway, Ethan said. Everyone who says Todd's right, say A, Billy called. Todd and his brother shout A. Everyone who says Ethan won, say nay. Nay, all of the other children shouted. I was so startled at the loud outburst I dropped my stick. Todd took a step forward and hit Ethan, who ducked and tackled Todd. They both fell to the ground. Fight, Billy yelled. I started to surge forward to protect my boy, but Chelsea put a firm hand on my collar. No, Billy, stay. The boys rolled around, the two of them tied together in a tight knot of anger. I twisted around trying to slip my collar, but Chelsea held fast. Frustrated, I barked. Ethan was soon sitting up on top of Todd. Both boys were panting. You give? Ethan demanded. Todd looked away, his eyes squeezed shut. Humiliated and hate wafting off of him in equal amounts. Finally he nodded and the boy stood up, waggling, beating at the dirt on his pants. I felt the sudden rage from Drake at the exact moment he lunged forward, slamming Ethan with both hands. Ethan rocked back but didn't fall. Come on, Ethan, come on, Drake snarled. There was a long pause while Ethan stood back, looking up at the older boy, and then Billy stepped forward. No, Billy said. No, Chelsea said. No, some of the other children said. No. Drake looked at us all for a minute, then he spat on the ground and picked up the go-kart without a word. The two brothers walked away. Well, we sure showed everyone today, didn't we, Bailey? Ethan said to me. Everyone hauled their go-karts to the top of the hill and rolled back down all day long. Ethan allowed Chelsea to ride his go-kart since hers had lost a wheel, and she had me ride behind her every time. That night, Ethan was excited at dinner, talking rapidly to Mom and Dad, who smiled as they listened. It took the boy a long time to fall asleep, and after he did so, his restlessness made me slid off the bed and lie on the floor. This meant I wasn't really asleep when I heard a huge crash from downstairs. What was that? The boy asked me, saying bolt upright in the bed. He jumped down into the floor at the lights came on in the hallway. Ethan, stay in your room, Dad told him. He was tense, angry and afraid. Bailey, come. I obeyed, ears down the stairs with Dad, who moved cautiously and turned to the lights in the living room. What's there? He asked Ollie. Wind blew the curtains on the front window, a window that was normally never open. Don't come down with bare feet, Dad shouted. What is it? Mom asked. Someone threw a rock through our window. Stay back, Bailey. I sensed Dad's concern and sniffed around the room and all the glass. On the floor was a rock. Like shards, the window clinging to it. When I put my nose to it, I instantly recognized the smell. Todd. 13. A year or so later in the spring, Smokey the cat got sick. He lay around moaning and didn't protest when I put my nose down in his face to investigate this new behavior. Mom became very worried and took Smokey for a car ride. When Mom came home, she was sad, probably because cats were no fun in a car. A week or so later, Smokey died. After dinner, the family went into the backyard where Ethan had escaped a big hole, and they wrapped Smokey's body in a blanket and put it in the hole and covered it with dirt. Ethan hammered a piece of wood into the soil next to the mound of wet dirt, and he and Mom cried a little. I nuzzled them both to remind them that there was still really no need to grieve, since I was okay and really much better pet than Smokey ever was.